I think we can all agree that the Slayers are the Chads of the Dwarfs. They are, generally shirtless, their hair's in these giant red mohawks, they're covered in blue tattoos, and just generally, they don't rout, they're just awesome in every way. And you should definitely never leave home without them, but in particular, this build is going to be relying on them as they're facing off against an absolute horde of large lizards. This build is from Bellevex via Discord, of course. We got Ungrim Iron Fist, which is already an Ultra Chad pick, in my opinion. Yeah, just anything that's not, what's the word I'm looking for? A Thorgrim, right? Mr. Rune Master himself is going to be a pretty Chad pick. Dragonback Slayers, Giant Slayers, got some Trollhammer Torpedoes as well, and War's Dragonfire Pass, along with long beards. Great weapons and sword and shield, or axe and shield rather, mixed, along with Grumbling Guard as well. Fairly small, focused dwarf build. Honestly reminds me a lot of like Warhammer 1 and 2 dwarf builds in many ways. Got a couple of gyro brimstone guns in the air as well. And then for this lizard horde here, led by a Life Slan, got 4 Croxigors and some skink cohorts up front. Razordon hunting packs, 2 of them, and then 4 Ripperdactyls all in Vanguard scattered around here. So initially we're going to get a little bit of a mild skirmish phase between these gyros and the Razordon hunting packs. The Ripperdactyls also trying to maneuver to try and close them in potentially here, taking a little bit of a bad angle, aren't going to be able to quite catch them. But the Brimstones are in pretty serious danger here, of course, from a number of different units, so we'll see how long they're able to survive. Ungrim, though, has his work cut out for him here. Of course, being unbreakable as the Slayers are. This is on large unit sizes, so the weapon strength is going to be a little bit reduced on the single entities from what we're used to, but still, anti-large bonus plus 30 is fairly hefty. Gives him a 95 melee attack against large type units, 120 armor also. I mean, just an Ultra Chad in terms of his stats. Decently cheap, not insanely cheap, honestly, but it's not going to absolutely break the bank either, especially if you strip down his abilities and items. Trollhammer Torpedoes are an interesting pick. They're a unit that used to be quite good in Warhammer 2. They were kind of one of your essential anti-large tools, but I feel like in Warhammer 3 I haven't seen them as much. They're maybe just not as good. Not really sure. We'll watch their damage here and see if they're able to pay for themselves, but these days, I would say you're mostly better off to just take more Slayers if you can afford to, rather than taking something like Trollhammer Torpedoes in order to combat those large units. But let's see here. Trollhammer's going to take a volley from the Salamanders and try and return fire. As a unit like this, it's going to be less effective. They were always really best against like large single entities, but even stuff like Croc Scores, Cavalry, they did okay. That volley was fairly solid, did some okay damage, but again, nothing crazy to write home about. I feel like previously they were maybe a little bit stronger. I'm not sure exactly what would have changed on them, but anyway. Brimstone's take another shot there, so just some early, tasteful skirmishing. Both players trying to soften each other up just a little bit, but of course lizards are going to want to land home the rush, and I mean, they could choose to just sit back and try and out-skirmish, and they probably would end up winning and forcing the Dwarfs to come to them, but I respect the Lizard player just saying, let's get this started here, let's not mess around too much with any more skirmishing, pull up on station here and start to fight, although they're going to delay the charge just a little bit here, maybe try and pull some of these Brimstones out of position and collapse them. Not really sure, but Trollhammer Torpedoes going to unleash now on the Croc Scores. Let's see, damage is okay. Surprisingly inaccurate. Maybe that's what changed, just that their accuracy is actually kind of poor now. I'm not sure, but going to get rushed down regardless by Rippers, which will be quite a painful experience. Croc Scores also busting the front line. I do have the mass just to kind of push through the Dwarfs and get up into the second level, but Giant Slayers are going to be deployed here. See, the Razordons also hitting the gyros heavily in the air, and the Rippers also engaging them now as well, so the gyros are probably pretty much done for. We'll see. Giant Slayers getting into action, though, as do the Dragonbacks and Ungrim over on this other side here. This is, of course, where the Slayers are going to be at their best. These big, messy melees brawling against these giant monsters. And, man, Ungrim himself is quite a tall boy for a dwarf. Oof, just gives a big old smack right there. Be helping substantially against these croc scores and whatnot. Can't help save the gyros, though, and they are going to be chased off the field in relatively short order. Rumbling Guard, Dragonback Slayers will continue to fight those, so we're probably just going to keep it up close, as it's mostly actually going to be a melee brawl in this particular battle, which is always nice to see for the dwarfs. Not some, overlapping missile layer onion, although I certainly do appreciate those builds as well. It's nice to see something a little bit more melee-oriented, and a lot of the focus is going to be on these giant slayers, mostly because they are already feasting in terms of damage output. Now, having just destroyed one Ripperdactyl, collapsing the second unit of, I guess, croc scores here, or perhaps turn and fight against these other Rippers, not sure. But, yeah, that 50 weapon strength plus 30 bonus versus large means they're to 80 versus large targets, which is just insane weapon strength. I mean, that's like monstrous infantry weapon strength just about, right? So they're going to be hitting these very, very hard. That massive melee attack as well pretty much guarantees hits, and just look at the HP melt on those Rippers once they charge in. Of course, they have got a decent charge bonus for infantry as well at plus 30. So if you're adding that together, 60 from the charge bonus and bonus versus large on top of 50 weapon strength means potentially 110 versus large targets on the charge. Start to realize how Giant Slayers are insane, and, combine that with the fact they've got 80 unit models on this large unit sizes, I believe. Maybe it's actually Ultra. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that, but I believe it's large unit sizes. Anyway, yeah, it's just insane. The potential damage output is insane. Even the regular Slayers, too, of course, Dragonbacks with their plus 24 bonus versus large, their contact effect as well when they're in melee, and reduce enemies' speed, and also gives them additional flame resistance. Not that that matters a ton, but can be useful here. The Lizards have so many units, so many large units. It's going to be tough to grind through, especially with the Life Salon continuing to distribute healing amongst these units here. The Dwarf blocks here, Longbeards, giving the defense and armor for the Slayers to kind of work off of. Of course, you don't necessarily want to go all Slayers necessarily, because they are quite vulnerable to skirmish and whatnot, but definitely want to at least have a few in all builds, and certainly in matchups where you might expect to face absolute bulldozer of large armored monsters, Giant Slayers are pretty much the only choice. Not the only choice, but one if you want to win, certainly. And Ungrim himself having a little bit of a hard time. He's a little bit slow these days. Honestly, Ungrim could use a little bit of an animation overhaul, I think. His animation set is from way back in Warhammer 1. It's kind of outdated now, a little bit slow. Just in general, I think his speed and animations could be sped up a bit. It would make him a lot more effective of an actual combat character, as he's supposed to be. I mean, a lot of the time like this, he just struggles to get into combat, but we'll see. He's chasing this Life Salon down now. Looks like he's got the charge speed to potentially chase it down, get some hits in there. The Giant Slayer's also close behind, following up, potentially can get in, and if they can burst down this Life Salon, remove the healing, that is going to give a significant impact to Lizardmen's ability to sustain this attack here, as a lot of their units have already taken fairly significant damage. We've got some Salamanders, or Razordons rather, still online. Both units are able to kind of skirmish into the back of these Longbeards. Dragonback Slayers here get some pretty cost-effective damage done. Rev Crystal also still online a little bit, can heal these Croc scores and whatnot. A little bit of Earthblood over here on just these Croc scores, but Dragonback Slayers, or sorry, the Giant Slayers, have enough speed. They're 40 speed, faster than the Salon, and can definitely keep up and keep getting attacks in on him. So the Salon's in big trouble right now without any units really to come in and bail him out. His fate is more or less sealed against these Giant Slayers, and taking out such a high-value unit will certainly put a good notch on their belt. I don't know, is killing a Salon, will that, like, fulfill your Slayer oath, or you actually have to die fighting the Salon to fulfill a Slayer oath? I don't know, I'm a little bit confused on this, but regardless, Ungrim also just trudging behind, sad. Also wishes he had 40 speed like his Slayers. But Ripper's now duking it out with the Grumbling Guard. Super essential, his Grumbling Guard. Although they can't keep your units fresh necessarily. You can see they're still very tired. But they can certainly delay the exhaustion on many of your units. Yeah, Slon continuing to flee from Giant Slayers who are now going to start shattering those skink cohorts. A little bit of a fast forward is in order as this kind of spread pursuit phase gets underway. The Slon Lord, like I said, his fate is sealed. He is eventually going to get killed by Ungrim and his Slayers. But, well, maybe actually. It looks like the Giant Slayers and Ungrim were delayed now. Getting bogged down in the skink cohorts, and we've got Croc Scores, Razordon hunting packs here now as well. So the cheeky Slon has some healing probably left of his own to do. Able to get away there. And how many Giant Slayers? 5 Giant Slayers left. Zoom in and watch their final demise. Perhaps, perhaps not. It's like one Giant Slayer goes down there. Yep, one goes down there. And that's the end of them, just like that. Both fulfilled? Oh no, there's still one more left. Okay. Yeah, meanwhile, you can see Ungrim out there in the distance chasing the Slon Lord. Grumbling Guards getting attacks in wherever they can. So we'll continue to fast forward as this last Slayer makes his stand. Oh man, he's here with the Grumbling Guard and still very much alive, unfortunately for him. Now chasing with the Grumbling Guard, the Ripperdactyls, getting some damage in on them. Man, this 142 HP Giant Slayer, just the absolute Chad of Chads. Cannot be stopped or pushed back. We'll keep his health bar up on the screen as I fast forward so we can watch to see if he goes down here. But if this guy survives the entire battle, he is officially promoted to Lord level character. Like that's just the rules. I'm sorry, I didn't make them up. Actually, I did just now, but them's the rules. And it does look like he's likely to survive here. He's going to go ahead and unify with Ungrim, the two Slayers remaining. I think the Dragonbacks are also still running around over there. Yep. Yes, a handful of them at least. 15 to be exact. Still chasing down the Slon, and certainly with their speed, plus that contact effect, minus 30% speed, it's going to make the Slon unable to escape in many ways. And he will eventually get killed off here, although he's not really taking many hits from the Slayers as they pursue. A little bit of a buggy pursuit behavior there. Looks like maybe take a little hit here and there, but Ungrim finally able to get into combat a little bit more as well. Stildon's actually going to very helpfully come to him and push through his own Dwarf Longbeards, which he was unable to, so that allows him to now get some hits in. And where's the Slayer bro? Oh, he's still here. 42 HP, he's going to be charging on in. Get the UI out of the way so we can watch this one Slayer's saga unfold. He follows Ungrim into the fray here. Oh yeah, fights that Razordon. Come on, bro. You can do it. Oop, oop. Looks like the Longbeard's trying to protect him at this point. Although certainly he would rather be in combat. But yeah, Lizardmen having some problems at this point as their units get low on leadership. The Slon now desperately trying to hold off the War's Dragonfire Pass and escape them. Now down below 1,000 HP. Let's see here. Ripper's going to charge on into the Longbeards. Our one Slayer friend engages them. Oh, is he going to go down here? He got knocked down. I don't think he actually took any damage there, though. Ungrim chasing the Bastiladon. He can get rid of the Rev Crystal. That will be pretty significant. Salamanders, or Razordons, I've made that mistake a bunch of times. Chasing here, actually get another heal from the Rev Crystal. These Croc Scores are heal capped, otherwise they would have been a little bit a better target perhaps. I don't know, maybe even healing the Slon just to keep him alive a little bit longer, but instead he is going to go down to the War's Dragonfire Pass here. Ungrim himself finishes off the leadership of the Bastiladon, and this one Giant Slayer manages to survive until the end. Oath left unfulfilled, but certainly the rest of his unit goes down. War's Dragonfire Pass also loses almost the entirety of their number, but in the end are successful in winning. And how about that Slayer, Giant Slayer unit? 4,286 damage value. That's insane for an infantry unit. Just honestly, absolutely bonkers damage value. A lot of that comes from the healing, of course. The Slann was doing to try and keep those units alive, but individually, there's not any one units that are super expensive here, which makes that even more impressive, in my opinion. They were able to absolutely butcher multiple high-value units. Very good stuff. Ungrim himself also gets pretty good gold value back. I'd have to check. We'll look at his cost here, if I can remember. It's not too expensive. Dragonback Slayers also do a great job. Grumbling Guard, pay for themselves. Yeah, the Iron Drakes, again, I think you just switch these guys out for more Slayers, and this build becomes that much better. But yes, Longbeard's also trading decently cost-effectively, as to the War's Dragonfire Pass. So just a nice melee dwarf build all around. All the melee components here do well, whereas all the ranged components just don't. For Persian Warriors side, I mean, the Rippers were able to do some pretty good damage. Crocsword is also a great pick in this matchup, generally. You can keep them alive, and they were able to do some pretty substantial damage. The Razordons were honestly the most powerful part of the build in terms of damage output. We're able to dispatch a lot of value, but it wasn't quite enough at the end of the day, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Let's just quickly take a look at Ungrim's value here. Go ahead and look at the Dwarfs. Yeah, Ungrim, not too expensive, honestly. Again, if you kit him down with no items or abilities, only 1250, so he did pretty much pay for himself there. Again, not the cheapest lord in the world, but considering he's unbreakable and it's got great stats overall. Oh no, it was on ultra unit sizes. Okay, I was mistaken. He just doesn't have a ton of HP, I guess. I mean, 5,000 is decent. It's not great. But definitely give him another look if you're sick of just playing Thorgrim, or Thorek all the time. Did I say Thorgrim earlier? I meant Thorek. You guys know what I mean. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.